12 Caribbean islands for retirement, cheaper than you think. Every year, thousands of Western retirees start researching the Caribbean as a place to live permanently. And every year, they run into the same short list: Barbados, the Cayman Islands, St. Barts. Beautiful, yes. Affordable? Not remotely. But the Caribbean basin is far larger than that short list suggests, and if you're willing to look beyond the resort brochures, there are destinations scattered across this region and its extended neighborhood that offer a genuinely comfortable retirement at a fraction of what most people assume. Some of these are islands in the traditional sense. Others are coastal or highland towns that share the same climate, culture, and lifestyle DNA. What they all have in common is that they are cheaper than the famous names, more livable than their reputation suggests, and, in several cases, sitting on the edge of a property price wave that hasn't fully broken yet. We've put together 12 of the best options for 2025 and beyond, ranked from the solid alternatives at the lower end up to our number one pick, which offers something genuinely distinct that the others simply cannot match. And as you'll see, the top pick on this list is one that most people never seriously consider, and that's exactly why it belongs at number one. Keep in mind, the figures presented here are approximations meant to give you a sense of the cost of living. Always verify with up-to-date sources before making any decisions. Without further ado, let's get into the list. Number 12, Cebu and Dumaguete, the Philippines. Technically in Southeast Asia rather than the Caribbean, the Philippines earns its place on this list because it shares almost everything Caribbean retirees are actually chasing: warm turquoise water, a relaxed pace of life, English as an official language, and a cost of living that would shock most Westerners. Cebu is the country's second-largest urban center, offering real city infrastructure. Dumaguete, further south, is quieter, smaller, and often called the university town of the Visayas. A couple can live reasonably well here for around $1,100 a month all in. Rent for a solid one-bedroom in a central area runs between $350 and $700 a month. Entry-level property starts at $70,000, though foreigners are restricted to condominium ownership rather than land. The residency pathway is one of the genuinely standout options in the world. The Special Resident Retirees Visa, known as the SRV, is available from age 35. It requires a deposit of $10,000 to $20,000 held in a Philippine bank, but that deposit is retained, not spent. It functions as a security, not a fee. For the level of access and permanence it provides, the threshold is remarkably low compared to equivalent programs elsewhere. On the downside, typhoon season runs June through November, and infrastructure outside the major centers can be genuinely rough. It's a trade-off, but for those whose priority is low cost combined with English-speaking ease, it's hard to beat at this price point. Number 11, Cuenca, Ecuador. Cuenca sits at roughly 2,500 meters in the southern Andes, and it has been a fixture on the expat retirement circuit for over a decade for good reason. The colonial UNESCO-listed center is genuinely striking, healthcare is world-class by regional standards and strikingly affordable, and the country runs on US dollars, which removes a significant layer of financial friction for American retirees in particular. The climate is often described as perpetual spring, mild and consistent, though at altitude that means cooler evenings than many expect. Monthly costs for a comfortable retirement run between $900 and $1,500. A central one-bedroom apartment rents for $400 to $700 a month. Entry-level property is available from around $80,000. The pensioner visa requires documented pension income of $1,425 a month, which works out to 3 times the Ecuadorian minimum wage. That's an accessible bar for most Western retirees receiving Social Security or a comparable pension. That said, Ecuador's security situation has changed considerably since 2023. The national crime trend has worsened meaningfully, and Cuenca, while more sheltered than the coast, is not entirely insulated from that shift. Spanish fluency is also not optional here. Those who thrive in Cuenca tend to invest seriously in the language before they arrive. Number 10, Paphos, Cyprus. Cyprus sits at the eastern edge of the Mediterranean, and Paphos on its southwestern coast combines British colonial infrastructure with a warm, near year-round climate and EU membership. English is genuinely widely spoken. The driving is on the left. The legal system is common law. For British retirees especially, the cultural friction is minimal. Monthly costs run from $1,400 to around $2,100. A central one-bedroom apartment costs between $700 and $1,100 a month to rent. Entry-level property is priced from $180,000, though well-positioned coastal properties will push significantly higher. The non-domicile tax regime is a draw for those with foreign source income, keeping the effective tax burden low for retirees living off overseas pensions or investment income. On the downside, summer heat here is not mild. July and August regularly exceed 38 degrees Celsius, and for retirees who struggle with heat, that's a real consideration, not a footnote. Also worth noting, Cyprus is a politically divided island, and the northern portion operates under a separate, internationally unrecognized entity. Property investment, in particular, requires careful legal attention to which side of the line you're buying on. Number 9. Chiang Mai, Thailand. Chiang Mai is another Southeast Asian entry on a Caribbean-focused list, included because it consistently outperforms almost everything else at its price point. It is a city of real substance, international hospitals, excellent infrastructure, a diverse food scene, and an expat community that has been established for decades. For retirees who want comfort without paying European prices, this city is genuinely hard to argue against. Monthly costs range from roughly $800 to $1,400. Central one-bedroom apartments rent for $350 to $700. Entry-level property begins around $60,000, again limited to condominium ownership for foreigners. Thailand offers multiple visa pathways. The retirement visa, officially the OA, is available to those aged 50 and over with either $24,000 held in a Thai bank account or a documented monthly pension of $1,800. There is also the long-term resident visa, a 10-year option requiring $80,000 in annual income, and since 2024, the Destination Thailand visa offers a 5-year multi-entry option for those with $14,000 in savings, which has opened up a substantially easier path for remote workers and semi-retirees. The honest downside is the hot season. March through May is severe, and agricultural burning adds significant air quality issues across the region during that window. Those with respiratory concerns should research this carefully before committing. Number 8. Saranda and the Albanian Riviera, Albania. Albania is, quite simply, the cheapest Mediterranean coastal option available right now. Saranda sits on the Ionian Sea, directly across the strait from Corfu. On a clear day, you can see the Greek island from your terrace. The landscape is visually identical. The price is not. What would cost $2,500 a month to rent on Corfu might cost a third of that here. Monthly all-in costs run from $700 to $1,200. A one-bedroom in Saranda's center rents for between $300 and $550 a month. Entry-level property starts at just $50,000, and savvy investors have already started buying in anticipation of continued infrastructure development and, eventually, EU accession. US citizens can stay visa-free for up to 1 year, renewable via a simple border crossing. Formal residency is available through property purchase or employment registration. The country is not in the EU or Schengen, which limits onward travel flexibility for those who want to move freely around Europe. Rule of law and property registration practices are still developing, and that means due diligence on any purchase needs to be thorough. The roads outside the main coastal corridor can be rough. But for the price, the scenery, and the upside potential, Albania is one of the most genuinely underrated options anywhere on this list. Number 7. Plovdiv, Bulgaria. Plovdiv is Eastern Europe's quiet overachiever. It's Bulgaria's second-largest city, holds an old town that genuinely stops visitors in their tracks, and was named European Capital of Culture in 2019. Despite all of that, it remains considerably cheaper than Sofia and almost entirely under the radar for most Western retirees. Monthly costs here sit between $700 and $1,100, making it one of the lowest-cost EU-affiliated options available. Rent for a central one-bedroom runs from $350 to $600. Entry-level property is available from around $50,000. Bulgaria is not yet in the Schengen zone, though it acceded to the EU in 2007 and Schengen accession is in progress. Long-stay residency is available via the D-visa pathway. The flat income tax rate and relatively low bureaucratic cost of establishing residency compared to Western Europe make it attractive for retirees living off foreign pensions. That said, the city's international airport is small. Most connections involve a transfer through Sofia. English proficiency also drops off noticeably outside the central area, which makes navigating daily life and, especially, property transactions more challenging without some Bulgarian or a reliable local contact. Number 6. San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. San Miguel de Allende is the most polished entry on this list and, honestly, one of the most livable small cities anywhere in the Americas. Sitting at 1,900 meters in the Bajío highlands of central Mexico, it offers a near-perfect climate, 18 to 25 degrees Celsius year-round, low humidity, and around 300 days of sunshine. The colonial architecture is UNESCO World Heritage listed. The English-speaking expat community is the deepest and most established in Mexico. Monthly costs run from $1,400 to $2,200 for a comfortable lifestyle. A central one-bedroom apartment rents for $800 to $1,500 a month, which is noticeably higher than most other entries on this list. Entry-level property starts around $200,000, and well-positioned colonial homes command considerably more. Residency follows Mexico's standard temporary or permanent resident pathway, which is well-trodden and generally manageable. The honest caveat here is that the expat community has done what expat communities do at scale: it has driven prices up. San Miguel today is a gentrified destination by Mexican standards. Those seeking truly low-cost living may find the budget tighter than expected. The altitude also requires a genuine adjustment period, and for retirees with cardiovascular considerations, that's worth a conversation with a doctor before committing. Number 5. Granada, Andalusia, Spain. Granada is one of southern Europe's most overlooked cities for long-term living, and that's a claim that genuinely holds up against scrutiny. It sits at the foot of the Sierra Nevada, it holds the Alhambra, one of the finest pieces of Islamic architecture in the world, and it maintains a local bar culture where tapas come with every drink at no extra charge. That last detail sounds small, but it meaningfully lowers food costs in daily life. Monthly costs here run from $1,100 to $1,700. A central one-bedroom apartment rents for $600 to $950 a month. Entry-level property starts from around $90,000, considerably lower than coastal Andalusia or Madrid. The non-lucrative visa provides the standard residency pathway, requiring demonstrated passive income and private health insurance. EU residency with access to the Schengen zone is the long-term destination of that process. The downside most often cited is bureaucracy. Spanish administrative processes are slow by any objective measure, and the non-lucrative visa application is no exception. International flight connections from Granada's airport are also limited, which matters for retirees who travel frequently or whose families are spread across different countries. Number 4. Cluj-Napoca, Romania. Cluj-Napoca is Eastern Europe's underrated technology capital, and it offers a combination that's genuinely rare: EU membership, strong English proficiency among the younger and educated population, a flat income tax rate of 10%, and monthly costs that sit well below Western European comparators. A comfortable monthly budget here runs from $800 to $1,300. A central one-bedroom apartment rents for $450 to $750. Entry-level property starts around $80,000, which for an EU member state city of this cultural weight is a notably low bar. Residency for retirees is available through the long-stay visa route. For those with foreign income from remote work, Romania's digital nomad visa requires documented monthly income of around €3,950 from foreign sources, which is substantial but accessible for professionals on good contracts. On the downside, Romanian bureaucracy is consistently ranked among the heavier administrative environments in the EU. Getting residency formalized takes patience and, in most cases, local legal help. The winters are also genuinely harsh by Western European standards. Those expecting a mild climate will need to recalibrate expectations. Number 3. Central Valley, Costa Rica, specifically the towns of Aitnaz, Grecia, and Escazú. Costa Rica's Central Valley is one of the most proven retirement destinations in the Western Hemisphere. The country has attracted North American retirees for decades, and for good reason. It is a stable democracy with no standing military, strong biodiversity, and a highland climate in the Central Valley that National Geographic once called the best climate in the world. That's marketing language, but the reality isn't far off: 20 to 26 degrees Celsius year-round, reliable infrastructure, and an English-speaking expat community that has been building here since the 1980s. Monthly costs run from $1,500 to $2,300 for a comfortable life. Rent for a central one-bedroom sits between $700 and $1,200. Entry-level property starts at $180,000. The pensioner residency visa requires documented pension income of just $1,000 a month, which is among the lowest formal thresholds of any country on this list. The rentista category, for those without a traditional pension, requires $2,500 in monthly verified passive income. The one consistent friction point for retirees in Costa Rica is the cost of imported goods. Cars, electronics, and anything manufactured outside the country attract significant duties. Infrastructure outside the San Jose corridor also varies considerably. Both are real, known downsides, not surprises, but worth factoring into any honest budget projection. Number 2. Boquete, Panama. Boquete is a highland coffee-growing town in Chiriquí province in western Panama, sitting at an elevation that keeps temperatures between 16 and 24 degrees Celsius year-round. It has quietly become one of the most established North American retirement communities in Central America. The familiarity factor here is real: US dollars are the currency, infrastructure is generally solid, and the expat community has created a social infrastructure of clubs, churches, and services that make settling in considerably easier than starting from scratch. Monthly costs sit between $1,200 and $1,800. A one-bedroom in the central area rents for $600 to $1,000. Entry-level property starts from $150,000. Panama's pensioner program is one of the world's most generous retirement residency programs. It provides meaningful discounts on healthcare, restaurants, entertainment, domestic airfare, and utilities, benefits that compound noticeably over a full retirement. The income threshold for the pensioner is low and accessible for most retirees with a basic government pension. The town's limitations are real, though. Boquete is a small town, and those who need urban variety or international direct flight access will find it constraining. The rainy season runs roughly half the year, and while the highland rains differ from coastal storms, the cloud cover and daily afternoon rain in the wet months is a meaningful lifestyle factor. For those whose criteria is mountain climate, a tight and established English-speaking retiree community, and one of the most generous legal benefit structures in the world, Boquete is a serious contender. But our number 1 pick offers something this list hasn't seen yet. Number 1. Puerto Rico, specifically San Juan, Rincón, and Dorado. Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory, which means for American citizens, there is no visa, no foreign legal system to navigate, no currency conversion, no international banking friction, and no immigration queue. You fly from Miami or New York, land in San Juan, and you are, legally speaking, home. That alone sets it apart from every other entry on this list. Monthly costs run from $1,700 to $2,700 for a full lifestyle, making this the highest cost entry by raw number. A central one-bedroom rents for $900 to $1,700. Entry-level property starts at $180,000, rising sharply in Dorado and the established San Juan neighborhoods. But the number that changes the calculation entirely is this: under Act 60, previously known as Acts 20 and 22, bona fide new residents of Puerto Rico can qualify for a 4% corporate tax rate and 0% tax on Puerto Rico-sourced dividends and capital gains. For a retiree or investor with significant investment income, that figure is transformative. It is, quite simply, one of the most powerful legal tax structures available to a U.S. citizen anywhere in the world. The requirements are serious and must be treated as such. The Act 60 decree requires 183 days per year on the island, a primary home purchase in Puerto Rico, and demonstrated charitable contributions locally. The IRS scrutinizes these arrangements closely, and compliance is not optional. For those to whom the tax benefit does not apply, Puerto Rico still delivers Caribbean living with U.S. legal protections, U.S. Postal Service, and no expat paperwork friction. The lifestyle across Rincón, San Juan, and the quieter western coast is genuinely hard to replicate anywhere else on this list. The honest downside is infrastructure. Hurricane Maria in 2017 left visible damage that still hasn't been fully addressed in parts of the island. The power grid is unreliable by U.S. mainland standards, and backup power is a practical necessity rather than a luxury for long-term residents. Those factors are real, and they belong in any honest assessment. But no other entry on this list combines Caribbean climate, U.S. legal and financial infrastructure, and the potential for a tax structure of this magnitude. For high-earning American retirees or investors willing to genuinely commit to island life, Puerto Rico at number 1 is not even close. And there you have it. 12 destinations for Caribbean-style retirement in 2025 and beyond, from the Philippines and Thailand at the more affordable end, through the established European and Latin American options in the middle, up to Boquete, the Central Valley, and Puerto Rico at the top. The range here is wide, both in cost and in character, which is exactly the point. There is no single right answer, but there is almost certainly a right answer for you somewhere on this list. If you found this useful, consider subscribing. We cover destinations like this every week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.